Hello there, Mad Mike here, and welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to go over something that's I really didn't want to make a video on it initially, but it's kind of been compounding a bit in recent days. So I thought it was at a point now where I could kind of comment on it. And this really doesn't. It kind of shows that the two basic kind of film camps that Hollywood is divided into, and I'll get into that. It has really nothing. It has nothing to do with politics. It's something that's been in Hollywood for a very long time, and this is just the most recent kind of feud between the two. And the thing is, they operate in tandem, but they also oppose each other in certain ways. So last week, uh, Martin Scorsese put out a quote about Marvel films that basically said that he tried to get into them, he tried to watch them, but he couldn't. He doesn't really like them, and he doesn't really consider them to be cinema. That was then taken, and the media proceeded to push it, and they've gotten quotes from James Gunn, Sam Jackson, and now Robert Downey Jr. And I'm not really going to go too much into the quotes because this is a bit more of a dissection of kind of what's been going on here and kind of why this is really a non-story and it's just being run with because for very certain reasons. So before we go into anything, let's just kind of explain some two things. A lot of films fall into one of two categories, and there are two basic types of films, successful films, that Hollywood kind of balances out. Now, one of them is the more story-driven film, the Academy Award winner, that kind of thing, where, people, it gets recognition and all that kind of stuff. That's really where Scorsese falls. Obviously, he has made some of the greatest films in Hollywood history. He's probably one of the 10 best directors of all time. He's probably one of the top 5 best living directors currently. And the list of all of his movies, his hit movies, Taxi Driver, Raging Bull, Goodfellas, Casino. He's going to be coming out with The Irishman soon. The Last Temptation of Christ. A bunch of really, really good movies that have helped shape cinema over the decades. But then you have the other half. Now, the other half are the popcorn movies, the blockbusters, the ones that everybody goes to see. That's really where the Marvel movies fall. They do have good stories, at least a lot of them do, but for the most part, those are your popcorn movies. Those are your entertainment movies. Those aren't necessarily your substance films. And really, what Scorsese, just to pick apart his quote, is that you're allowed not to like something. I have no problem that Martin Scorsese doesn't like the MCU. There's a lot of people I know that do not like Marvel movies, especially now because of the way that Disney operates. And I don't really, again, I don't have a problem with somebody not liking a film. There's plenty of films that I don't like, and there's plenty of films that I love that people hate. So it is what it is. Everybody has their own taste, and it's quite obvious that Martin Scorsese probably likes to watch movies like the movies that he likes to make. That's usually kind of a common theme with directors for the most part. Directors very rarely make films that they wouldn't want to watch themselves. That's very odd. So I don't have a problem with that. But when he goes to the point where he says, "I don't consider them cinema," I think that's a bit much. But again, it's his opinion as far as his tastes are concerned. I don't think he means that in the literal sense that Marvel movies are not movies. I just don't think that he considers them to be to his level of cinema that he would consider it, a part of his viewing schedule, basically. And I think that this has been run with quite a bit by the media in order to drum some stuff up. I think a lot of it might have to do with the fact that Martin Scorsese has chosen to go make The Irishman with Netflix, which a lot of people in the studio business were probably not happy with because the studios hate Netflix and they've been trying to put them out of business for years at this point. And they've been trying to bar them from the MPAA. And among other things. So there's a lot probably going on behind the scenes of this, and I think the reason why the media has been running with it is because a lot of it is the shill media. It's the Colliders, it's the Screen Rants. It's a lot of those types of tabloids that are kind of putting this stuff out there first. And I think a lot of it is them deliberately trying to drum up news because they have a bit of a they have a bit of a, I shouldn't say a vendetta against Netflix, but they have a buddy relationship with studios because we've all seen everything that's been happening with critics and stuff like that. So it's not really any surprise that the cinema news industry is a bit too cozy, let's say, with the actual film studios themselves. Um, but I think that people are taking this way out of proportion. And again, I think that bothering to get quotes from all these various people, these directors and actors, is not worth it. It's not worth the time that you spent to go and talk to them. Um, and I don't think that any of it is substantive. Um, but I really do think that this story is something that is being driven more by the media than by actual substance. Um, and again, it all just really relies on tastes. Some people really love Marvel movies. I like the MCU movies. There's some of them that I legitimately love that are some of my favorite films. Um, I shouldn't say necessarily like top favorites, but movies that I would 100% watch again and again and again if I felt like it. I don't think I've ever really, other than Captain Marvel, I don't think I've ever sat through an MCU movie that I felt was actually painful. Um, but the point is that you can't take something that somebody says in relation to their own tastes and just apply it generally because it's not necessarily it's very disingenuous to start off. So again, that's just kind of my opinion on this whole thing. This is basically a non-controversy. This entire thing has been blown out of proportion and been manipulated by the news media and well by the film media and just perpetuated because of that. And I think it does have something to do with Martin Scorsese's connection to Netflix, and I think it does have something to do with the studio vendetta against Netflix. So, again, that's just my theory. Tinfoil hat, whatever you want to call it, but I think it's a valid theory, but no hard evidence to prove it. But again, it's just more insinuation. But the thing is that I don't think people should overreact by somebody saying they don't like Marvel films. Uh, if that's the case, there's going to be a lot of overreacting. So, that's just my take on this. But I'd like to know your thoughts. Do you agree with Scorsese in the sense that you don't really like MCU films, or they're just not your cup of tea, or what's the type of film that you like to sit down and watch? The type of film that you really enjoy. Put it in the comments below. Again, I like to know what you're thinking. Hit the bell for notifications, hit the like button, subscribe, and remember, I live my life free of compromise. Do you?